don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD, Annabelle, and Melissa.
Okay, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD, and with me, not as usual, but today we have a special guest appearance by Annabelle and Melissa, our wonderful co-hosts.
Hello.
And we're also joined by the extraordinary house flipper, Facebook group owner, and author of The Flipping Blueprint. And Luke's not only the author of The Flipping Blueprint, he's able to give really good advice, and sometimes people don't take it. Luke, thanks for coming on our show today. We really appreciate your time. Can you kind of introduce yourself to our audience and let people know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me, guys. You know, we've known each other for 2.5 years, give or take, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys know me as a giver, so I'm happy to give back to your audience and any questions that you guys have. Let's share it. Anything that they're reaching out to you with, I'm happy to help out and take this wherever this journey takes us. But like you said, I've written a couple books on the flipping houses and wholesaling properties, the Flipping Blueprint and the Wholesale Blueprint. But I'm not just an author. I actually do what I write about. I got into real estate as a real estate appraiser back in 2001, flipped my first house in 2003, made a good sized profit on it and said, hey, this is pretty cool. Let me keep doing this. And back then I didn't know all the ins and outs of how this industry really worked, right? Using other people's money and wholesale deals and hard money lending and just how to deal with contractors. So I really learned on my own, and then I kept learning and educating myself. And I went through a lot of experiences. And as I got more experience, I realized that social media was a really big thing. And, you know, I commend you guys for going out there and creating a podcast, because I know how much work that is too. And you guys are out there helping people, and I love that. I started talking at groups, and I kept getting the same questions over and over and over, and it was taking a lot of my time. And that's why I wrote the books. It's like, you know what? Let me help people, but let me also do what I want to do and have my time and my freedoms. And I'll create these forums and create the book and share my experience in flipping houses and wholesaling and rentals. And I mean, you name it in real estate, I've probably done it, from land deals to commercial apartment buildings. We've had our fair share of things, but as of right now, I have a investment group that we do rental properties, and we'll probably going into 2021, we're going to do 50 house flips, buy a bunch of rentals, and a whole bunch of wholesale deals.
Awesome.
Hope that's a quick synopsis on me.
So that's a lot and really ambitious goals. I think in the long run, you know, our 2 to 3 year plan is really similar to how you built out your business, Luke, and really what you're doing there. So you're definitely inspiration. I know JD's going to have a ton of questions for you. So I don't know if you'll have to write a book on this, but JD, go ahead.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we've just done with our partnership, we got Melissa got her agent's license, and I'm wondering if maybe you can talk about how your guys' group navigates that agent investor conundrum.
Yeah, you really have to understand that, and let's speak more for the new investor, right? Who is deciding, should I get my license, or what should I do? If you are going out to get your license, I mean, obviously you're looking at it for the financial gain, but to really gain from it, you have to understand it's a business to itself. So if you're just that one-off investor and you're not already an agent, I would say don't get your license. because you kind of close some doors when you have your own license. You get less pocket listings coming in from realtors. It really doesn't end up being what you want to do to reach financial goals. Now, for us, we've always partnered with realtors for a very long time. But notice I say realtors, not just one, but many, because I don't close any doors. I want to have agents bringing me deals left and right. That's what I've always wanted. And I have different partnerships with agents. Some of them want the listing after I've fixed it. Some of them are working both sides of it. They know I'm a solid buyer, so they send me deals. For us, we had various realtor partners as we were growing our main business that we have today for about 5 years. And then at that point, my wife actually went and got her license so that she could handle that side of the business. Right. And you guys do lead generation, so you understand that you get leads coming in, and not all of those are something that you can buy, right? Because they might just want retail. So that's another way to capture revenue, is you take that lead and turn it into a retail listing, and you get your agent commission on it. If I were an agent, I wouldn't be able to focus on my flips as much, because now I'm dealing with the retail clients, and it really is something that I like to see separated. One of the things that really irks me is when somebody is a realtor and they're flipping and they don't pay both businesses, right? You as a realtor still need to get paid. You as a flipper still need to get paid. Don't combine those two, because it's two jobs. Yeah. And that's what I see so many people do. They're like, oh yeah, I made $20,000 on it. Oh, okay, well, that's great. Was that, and then your commission too? Oh, no, that's everything. Oh, and maybe it's like a $400,000 house. I'm like, wow, that's a really low ROI. Like I wouldn't take that risk just to do that. You could basically make that same on a realtor commission versus putting all your risk into the flip and what could or could not happen on it. So that's something that people really need to weigh out.
And you're right in what you said about it's a business within its own. It's a huge time commitment that I don't know if you fully appreciate until you jump in. You know what I mean? So
yeah, to do it right, to do anything right, especially taking it off the ground, it takes time and money and resources.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're learning, and this is something that I guess I realized, but it wasn't at the forefront of my mind, is like to me, it almost definitely doesn't seem the amount of effort that you have to put in to either act as a buyer's agent or act as a listing agent to get a commission, which after you pay all your broker fees and you pay your mentorship fees and the document fee and all these other things, I'm like, why don't you just wholesale this? Because you could make a lot more money wholesaling than you are on your commission. Like, it's almost not worth. And obviously, because Melissa, we're just starting out down that realtor track. We don't have all the systems and stuff to do it quickly yet. But it just seems like way more work than regular wholesaling to me. So there has to be some other benefit there.
And that's taking it as a business to itself, right?
Right.
If you just wholesale that deal, great. You make a quick money, nothing else after that, right? If you're the realtor and then you get a review and now you get on Zillow and you do a couple more of those, you start building momentum. Now you get referrals from people. Oh, list my house, list their house. People are looking at you. You're going to get premier status on Zillow. You start doing a lot of transactions, and then listings just start coming to you. And I mean, that all takes time, energy, and money, right?
Right.
One of the things you did say though was the mentorship fees and the brokerage fees and all that kind of stuff. You definitely have to go to a brokerage that works for you, not against you, and that way you're not just paying money out the door. At our brokerage, so one of the businesses that we opened a couple of years ago was our own real estate brokerage here in Vegas Homes Realty. And with our new agents, we do a mentorship program for their first 5 deals. If they're stunning and they do great, it can be 3 deals, and then they're off on their own. And then there's just that brokerage fee. And a lot of the big houses out there continue to just take money out of your commission checks, and it's like, wow, you were working really hard and you're paying somebody else to work. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's right. So you get a lot of your leads, I assume, from your brokerage side of things, where somebody comes to one of your agents and it's not something that meets a traditional sale. So you bring it into the wholesaling and flipping business through that, I'm sure. What are some of the other ways that you are finding leads for your flipping, wholesaling side of the house?
Yeah, one thing, when I wrote the books or wrote the flipping blueprint, I was getting a lot of deals out of the MLS, the multiple listing service, what the realtors use to post houses. And I was doing automated searches. I had things coming in and I was closing multiple ones every month over and over and over from the MLS. And over the last 3 years, one of my primary source of properties has been 50-50, either my own lead generation from mailers and calling, and I was doing PPC for a while, pay-per-click internet marketing, and the wholesalers out there bringing me deals. So even though I wholesale deals in Vegas, I don't do a lot of wholesales. I do those nationally in other markets where I'm not established. But in Vegas, I buy a lot from wholesalers, because the more connections and the networking that you do, the more chance you have for deals. So I'm constantly getting deals into my inbox that I'm not having to push and pay for upfront, right? It's like, okay, you know what? I'll run my numbers. Here's my price, versus putting out $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 in marketing every month to bring in leads.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess at this point, through your Facebook group and through the books and just being around in that market for a long time, everybody in Las Vegas knows who you are. You hold a quarterly meetup that I went to a couple of times, and then you do what is it? It's drinks,
sips and flips.
Yeah, sips and flips. Which I love that idea. That's awesome. That's one I'll probably steal for over here. But what are some of your recommendations for these guys that maybe aren't as established and don't have the massive social media following like you do? How are those guys going to get the attention of those wholesalers?
You said one of the things that jumped out at me is that you said everybody in Vegas knows me. That's not true. There's always new people coming into this business. You're right. I have to go out and continue to market myself and comment on people's posts and let people know that I'm a buyer and keep putting my name out there. And it's a continual thing. Whether you're new or experienced, networking is key. And right now with COVID, everything that we have going on, we haven't done a quarterly at all this year because we've just been shut down and we haven't been able to, those parties, I'd pay for all the food, I'd pay for all the drinks. We'd have 100 people show up and we'd have a great time and people were in the background doing deals. I would have loved to have had that deal, but I think it's awesome that they were able to connect at my meetup and have that. It was just a great experience. And we're really looking forward to bringing those back, hopefully next year, because it is a great networking thing. So whether it's a in-person event or a digital event, or you're just getting into all the Facebook group pages or whatever the kids do now, TikTok and all that. I'm not savvy enough for that. I feel like I'm an old man in this business already. I've been doing it for almost 20 years now, so I guess it's been a while. But networking, networking is key to get out there and just tell people what you're doing, even if you haven't done it yet. Get out there and tell them, right? Tell them, oh yeah, I wholesale properties. Doesn't matter if you haven't wholesaled any, or if, I invest in real estate. Doesn't matter if you never have. Have you paid your rent once before? Have you lived in your parents' house? You've been involved in real estate.
Well, I know before we were talking about your YouTube channel, and I think that's one of the key things. And actually, in this notebook, I have what is my real estate story, and I think that was one of the lessons that you taught. Because with my transition recently out of the military and coming down here to do that full time, I really had to look and think about it, not necessarily from the way I see things, but the way things really are. I am leaving the military to come down to Panama City and help lead and manage our real estate investment company full time, and restore this community. right? And that's kind of what my real estate story is, which is what I took away from your video series that you put on your YouTube channel, which if anybody's listening to this and they want to get a ton of value, I push it to everybody that I know.
I'll put the link in the show notes, so it'll be there for you guys.
Yeah, and it's just phenomenal. And there's so many key nuggets just like that, just changing your perspective on the way you see your story and then helping to let everybody know what that is. That's phenomenal. That was really, really good stuff that you put out there.
And it's free, so don't be afraid to go on there and subscribe. We're putting more videos on there now as we're bringing back some of these digital events that we've been doing. So it's I really just have it out there to help people not make mistakes I've made or that other people have made. That I've seen some pretty bad stuff out there, and I like to give people advice. And again, whether they take it or not, that's on them. But if I can help a couple people avoid doing a bad deal, getting into something wrong, or climbing their way out of a hole, that makes me happy to help people.
Yeah, I think that's critical there. And guys, we like to be real with you. It's not always easy. It's not always pretty. It's not, you are learning, and sometimes you're learning hard lessons. So, I think we've talked about it when we had Dawn Costa on the podcast with Melissa, how she turned a couple of her rentals from negative to cash flowing every single month, and really fix that. And then personally, I know our first joint venture together, Melissa, JD, and Annabelle, was a deal that we found, and we brought it to Luke, really excited, and said, he was one of our mentors in Vegas. And we said, Luke, what do you think about this? And he said, guys, don't trust me on this one. Don't do it. And we did it.
But look at the numbers though. Look what it says right here.
Yeah, it's not all about the numbers that you can put out on paper and convince yourself of sometimes, right? And some of that stuff you got to learn through experience. But hopefully you're more cautious when you hear other people's experiences and be like, oh, I can do better than them, or that's not going to happen to me. Well, real estate products are real estate products, and various things. Low-end rentals have their problems. High-end rentals have their problems. Flips in this market versus that market, all different things. And you've been around the block a few times. You learn some stuff.
Yeah, and although it was a super costly lesson, I agree with what you're saying, because it was like education. It was like that we went to an intensive mastermind for a year, and we paid a lot of money for that, because that will never happen again. And we look at everything
through that lens
now.
For sure. We've even since we're here, one of the problems that we identified through that was that we were a little bit too hands off on our property management team, even after we saw the first kind of red flag. And we're like, it's just a mistake and they'll get it taken care of and it's not a big deal. Okay. Well, what we learned is one red flag, you go and address it immediately, because if you don't, you set a precedence for the way the communication goes and the way things are handled. And we've already used that multiple times and really probably, I wouldn't say we're not back up to even yet from what that lesson has cost us, but we're working there every single day. We're using those lessons to build on what we're doing.
And you take a look at it, and there was a cost to it, right? But now you're earning that back, and then you'll go positive.
Yeah.
You're not just, I lost, I'm out, right? No, hang on. You paid for experience, you paid for education, and now you're moving forward. Obviously, we all wish that didn't happen.
Sure.
Right. We wish every deal was a grand slam home run every time, but that's just not the case, especially when you do volume. Things are going to happen. But as you learn it and tweak and better perform, then it's like, oh, yeah, I learned from that one and I did great on this one.
Yeah. I just included it in like my student loan debt,
It's just cost of doing business.
Yeah. But learned so much. But maybe you could elaborate a little bit why you saw what we saw and saw something different.
Experience. I mean, where was this one at? It wasn't Mississippi.
Report.
Louisiana. Yeah.
Louisiana. Yeah. So it was a 10-unit row apartment complex, right? And were they all 2-1s or 1-1s? I'm trying to remember the stat.
They're all 1-1s.
Yeah. You don't even remember. You're blocking it out. Like I don't want to know about this anymore. So what it was a low income property, low rents. If you look at your median rent for any market area, let's say in Vegas, my median rent right now is, I think we're at like $1,450 or something like that. For the rentals I'm buying now, I want my rent to be above that. I'm looking at ones that rent for $1,800, $2,000 a month, because it's just a different caliber of property. The tenants are usually more traditional families that you get in there. You have longer term tenants. When you have like these 1-1s, and I've had a bunch of them. I've definitely had a bunch of them. You have people that in and out, especially like in Vegas here, we're very transient. Where people come and go. We would have somebody sign their lease, they're in there for less than 3 months, and then all of a sudden they're gone and they didn't pay their last month and they trash the place. You make no money on that. Even if I own the place for cash, or I had a very great loan on it, low cost, it still wasn't worth it because the turnover ratio on that, the constant uptick on it, and a lot of that tenant population, unfortunately, they break something on purpose, not on purpose. They're just not being careful, right? It's like, oh, I want water out of my faucet. Should I shake it like this? and it breaks. And then they call management. Then management says, oh, yeah, we'll send our handyman over there. And you might have a cap on your management of, hey, everything under $500 or $250 is approved. Just get it done. And then you get all these bills at $225, right? So they're sending their in-house handyman over with a $20 faucet for 1 hour, fixes it out. That costs them $40, and they profit $185 off it. It's just that all comes out of you, and you have 10 of those units, and it keeps happening. Right.
That's exactly what happened. I don't know how many times we paid for the same locks to be changed.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
100 times. And that same thing with turnover. We had massive turnover. I think our longest term tenant was only 1 year, and that turned out to be the worst unit of all of the units.
Yeah. And it's funny because and I've had these type of rentals in 5 different states now. And it's the same, and it's from Nevada all the way over to Florida, and in between these have been, and it ends up being the same story where it's just more headaches than you want. And we actually at one point we had a portfolio of, I think we're at 78 houses or 87 units total, so not just houses but multifamilies mixed in there and things like that. And we brought it all in house to manage. And our staff here hated it.
Sure.
but we were the most profitable at that point because we weren't, even with the cost of staff in-house, we're much more profitable on it because we're managing everything and taking care of it. But we don't want to do it. It's just not a fun thing. And it's if you're in this business to just be a slumlord, great. People will buy those all day long. They're not going to fix anything. If that guy pays, great. If not, I'm going to offer the rent to the next person for $25 cheaper. They go in, take it as is. And it's just a turnover business. They take a heavy security deposit maybe, and they know that person's going to be there for 3 to 6 months of their 12-month lease. And it's a business. I don't fault those guys for doing it. It is just what it is. Me personally, I'm not a slumlord. I can't operate like that. When something's broken, we tend to fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless it's a clogged toilet. I tell them, go buy a plunger and take care of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking before about some questions from some of our listeners, one of the questions that I saw recently, and I'm not sure if it was in your community or one of the other ones that I'm in, but the question was, it's a new kid. He's starting this wholesaling, flipping journey. And what he's running up against is everybody's asking him for these proof of funds letters. And I gave him my advice, but I'm wondering if you could share with our listeners how you think somebody who's new in the business doesn't necessarily have the 250, 400,000 in funds, how to handle that, or if there's other ways to deal with it.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to deal with it, right? if you go search proof of funds letter online, you're going to find a bunch. I'm not advocating anything that would be fraudulent creation of a letter. But I know that there's people out there that do that kind of thing. Part of it, though, is like we talked about earlier, your real estate story. Saying who you are and what you are with more confidence can get right past that conversation. I mean, it's like, oh, if you want to talk to me about houses, give me a proof of funds. And you might go through that 5-10 times before you get down what you want to say to somebody to make them believe that you truly are able to buy it without even talking about the money of it. So that's something that I think really helps people. But if you're making offers on properties, you can get a hard money lender to give you a pre-approval on, say, I have a hard money lender that I work with, and so we'll be funding it with that. So here's their pre-approval if you need it for your records, but send me over the property, we'll knock it out, boom. And, keep sending them to me and we'll keep buying them. You dangle that carrot, let them know that there's more down the road. That's especially for realtors.
Right.
Because the realtors are really the ones who ask for the proof of funds the most. If I have a wholesaler that asks me for a proof of funds, I just tell them, I'm not giving them bank information. I don't know what you're going to do with it. I buy houses. If you want to sell a house, send me the information.
I'll buy it.
Yeah. Like you, just because you went to some class and somebody told you to look or ask them for a proof of funds. No, I'm not going to show you my bank accounts. And guess what? I'm going to have a bank account with $1 in it. I might have another one with 5 million in it.
Right.
Or I might have just created a letter off of the internet and it's a complete lie.
Right.
But like, what are you going to do with it? Like, oh, I got a piece of paper now.
I think it only stops those people in their first couple of times, the ones that are a little bit nervous and a little bit scared. The response that I gave was, one, if you don't have proof of funds or can't produce a proof of funds letter, stay off the MLS, go direct to seller. If there's a seller asking you for a proof of funds, it's probably because you're building a transactional relationship instead of a relational relationship. And you're not solving their problem, because somebody whose house is on fire doesn't care if you have a proof of funds letter.
Right. Yeah, that's great, because it's taking it to the root of the issue, right? If you are talking to them about them and not the house, right, and building that relationship, they're going to be more trusting. And part of that is getting in there and making them feel comfortable with you. I remember when I first started out really going out and marketing, I was calling every single FSBO for sale by owner that's out there. And I was getting in every door I could because I wanted to craft my speech and my confidence. And I was going out there and I had, you always get those older people who've bought and sold their own houses for the last 50 years and their experience. And, they don't want to beat around the bush and all that kind of stuff. And I remember the guy had 2 houses and I ended up buying one of them from him. I got a great deal on it too. The other one was their primary and they didn't really want to move it, but that was one of my first personal, I took this lead from step A to step closed, right? And I went through all of it and experience and speaking with people. I didn't have a ton of that to start because I was buying a lot out of the MLS. This was probably 2011, I think, when I started going down that path. I think it was 2011. And I was like, okay, yeah. I one-upped this guy who had all this experience and really pushed it. But it was because I went into there with confidence with those other ones behind my belt. And I'm sure he asked for me for a proof of funds and I didn't give it because that's not something that we do.
No, that's great advice. I appreciate it. And I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it too. Because I feel like when you're first starting out, there's so many, which now looking back at it, there's such small hurdles to overcome. But when you're going through it for the first time, or it's the first time you have to figure out how to get a contract or how to find a title company, it's almost like immobilizing fear or it's a real problem. And it's not that, I guess it's not really a real problem, but at the time you can't see anything else. So
yeah. And it's something new, right? all those people out there that are getting into these businesses, and they're like, okay, well, how do I buy, fix, flip, sell, and profit on a property? Well, each one of those is a bunch of little steps put together, right? So it's like you just do one little thing at a time, and there's a blueprint for it. But it really is little things. And you know what? If you go out there and you're listening to the podcast and reading books and getting on the group pages, there's so many people out there that are willing to help and give you that next step of advice. But I can tell you, especially from experience, if I have the same person coming back and keeps asking me questions, but they're not doing what I'm saying, I'm not going to keep answering those questions because, I don't want to waste my time.
Right.
Because it's, if you're not taking somebody's advice or you keep getting asked the same thing. What did you do? Last week you asked me about this. Did you do that? Well, no, I didn't have the time. You didn't have the time. You know how much stuff I do? We all have the same amount of time.
Right.
You just got to take action. Yeah, I had somebody throw away their video game systems once. I'm like, just go throw it away. Do you have one? Do you have one? Throw it away. Oh, I don't play it that much. Throw it away. Get rid of it. If you really want to be successful, get rid of it. And the guy ended up wholesaling houses. I mean, like he actually took action. I'm sure he's probably bought 3 different video game systems since then. But
now that he has more free time.
Yeah. I mean, it's taking care of the little things, and realize that that's no big deal, right? Nothing's a big deal.
Yeah. No, that's something. When we moved JD down to Florida, we decided, what's on the list, what's not on the list. I said, you want this TV? He's like, nope, I don't need it. I'm going to be doing bigger and better things with my time. Okay, good. As long as you think you don't need it. And then I think really full circle, you guys touched on it already with the questions, JD, you were asking. Luke, you already touched on it earlier when you said just network. How do you find that title company? How do you find that, other thing you're looking for? Just keep meeting people, keep telling people what you do. All the time, everywhere. Go to the meetups. What else? I know I found your book on Sorry, go ahead.
I just said send thank you cards and be happy about it.
Yeah, no, have gratitude for when you do get advice and hopefully listen to them more. And Luke, I think you actually gave me your first book, but I bought your second book on Amazon. Where else can folks find your book and where can they hear more about you?
Well, the books are pretty much on any digital platform, iBooks, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, wherever. So it's the Flipping Blueprint and the Wholesaling Blueprint. And again, it's not just a bunch of fluff in those. There's tons of actionable items, and it's built on my experience. And I think I wrote them in a pretty conversational way. If you understand some of the words I've said today, you'll probably be able to read the books and understand those too. It's not,
I don't even like real estate, and I liked them.
I mean, it's not a bunch of just jargon or my background story and fluff. So that's on there. The best way to reach out to me, though, is on Facebook. We've got the Flipping Blueprint group on there. If you don't answer the 2 questions to get in, you're not getting in. I can tell you that. But that's just to make sure that whoever's joining that group is an action taker. And we've got a lot of amazing investors from all over the world now. And people that are doing some pretty cool things. We got some people that are pretty active in there. And so it's not just me sharing my thoughts on your questions, but we get other people that chime in and share their experiences too. And it's a great place to network. So the Flipping Blueprint group on Facebook.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that group. I'm a part of it, and I try to stay as active as I can in there. And every time Luke releases those new YouTube videos, they get posted up or at least a link gets posted up in the Facebook group. So that's where I'm finding them. Luke, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you
coming on and providing our listeners with as much value as you provide us.
Great. And I love seeing you guys' journey and just seeing other people actually take action. And that's one thing. If you leave this video today, just know that action is what gets results. So keep taking action and you'll see successes. And I really appreciate being able to share some of my thoughts and wisdom and experiences with you guys. And I always love talking with you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and updates, check out our website, shorefrontrestorations.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Shorefront Restorations. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at info@shorefrontrestorations.com. See you next episode.